Ever wonder how families managed to eat during the Great Depression? We've uncovered 25 ingenious recipes that kept folks going when times were tough. These aren't just any old meals. They're the dishes that saved lives and stretched pennies. From peanut butter soup to dandelion salads, these Depression-era dinners might surprise you. Picture this: your main ingredient is something you'd usually toss in the trash. During the Great Depression, folks couldn't afford to waste a single scrap. They got creative, using every part of an ingredient out of sheer necessity. It wasn't just about being thrifty, it was about survival. When times got really tough, people turned to some pretty unusual food sources. Suddenly, items that were once overlooked became culinary staples. Take potato peels, for instance. Instead of throwing them away, families would fry them up for a crispy snack. Or how about beef bones? They'd simmer them for hours to make a hearty broth, extracting every last bit of flavor and nutrition. These overlooked ingredients weren't just fillers. They often packed a nutritional punch. Organ meats like liver and heart, which many people today turn their noses up at, are actually rich in vitamins and minerals. Greens that we might consider weeds, like dandelion leaves, are loaded with vitamin C and iron. Mary, who grew up during the Depression, shared a story with us about her family's go-to meal. Every Sunday, my mum would make what she called Depression soup. It was basically whatever vegetables we could scrounge up, plus any leftover meat scraps, all thrown into a pot with some water. We'd eat it with stale bread that she'd toast up. It wasn't fancy, but it kept our bellies full. Now, you might be wondering, what ingredient became the unexpected star of Depression-era meals? It's something you probably have in your pantry right now, but you might not think of it as a main dish. Any guesses? Believe it or not, it was peanut butter. This protein-packed spread became a lifesaver for many families. It was cheap, filling, and didn't spoil easily. People started using it in all sorts of creative ways, way beyond the classic PB&J, from peanut butter to lawn trimmings. It might sound crazy, but during the Great Depression, families turned to an unexpected food source that was both free and nutritious. What if we told you that the key to surviving hard times might be growing in your yard right now? Back in those tough times, people looked at their lawns differently. Instead of seeing pesky weeds that needed to be pulled, they saw a free grocery store right outside their door. Foraging for food became a common practice, turning what we now consider nuisances into valuable resources. It's funny how times change, isn't it? These days, we spend time and money trying to get rid of dandelions. But during the Depression, those bright yellow flowers were a welcome sight. People didn't just tolerate dandelions, they actively sought them out for their dinner tables. And here's the kicker: those weeds pack quite a nutritional punch. Dandelion greens are loaded with vitamins A, C, and K. They've got more calcium and iron than many types of lettuce we buy at the store. Who knew that those pesky plants could be so good for you? We talked to Mary, whose family relied on foraged greens during the Depression. She told us every spring, my brothers and I would go out with baskets to collect dandelion greens. Mom would make a big salad with them, dressed with a little salt and vinegar. It wasn't fancy, but it filled our bellies and kept us healthy. Now, you might be wondering, which plant became the superstar of Depression-era salads? Any guesses? That's right, it was the humble dandelion. These sunny little flowers and their greens became a staple in many households. But how did people actually prepare and serve these backyard greens? Well, timing was everything. Folks would pick the dandelions before they budded and flowered to get the best flavor and tenderness. They'd often prepare them simply, with just a bit of salt and vinegar to cut through the natural bitterness. So next time you're about to wage war on the dandelions in your yard, maybe think twice. You might just be looking at your next salad. While foraging helped fill Depression-era plates, the real magic happened in the kitchen. Ever wondered how families managed to feed everyone when the cupboards were nearly bare? Get ready to discover the ingenious stretching techniques that turned meager ingredients into hearty meals for the whole family. During the Great Depression, stretching a meal wasn't just a clever trick, it was a necessity. Families had to get creative to make their limited ingredients go further. Imagine having to feed a family of 5 or 6 with just a handful of potatoes and maybe an egg or two. It sounds impossible, but that's exactly what many households faced. So, how did they do it? Well, one of the most popular methods was bulking up dishes with cheap, filling ingredients. Potatoes became the ultimate secret weapon in this culinary battle. They were affordable, widely available, and incredibly versatile. You could mash them, fry them, or turn them into a hearty soup that could feed the whole family. Speaking of soup, potato soup became the champion of stretched meals during the Depression. It was simple to make, requiring just a few basic ingredients like potatoes, water or broth, and sometimes a splash of milk or cream if you were lucky. But here's the real kicker. It was easy to customize and enhance with whatever else you had on hand. Families across different regions put their own spin on potato soup. Some added onions or carrots for extra flavor and nutrition. Others tossed in leftover bits of meat when they had them. The beauty of potato soup was its adaptability. You could make it your own, based on what was available. But the magic of potato soup didn't stop there. Many families discovered that it tasted even better the next day as the flavors melded together. This made it perfect for leftovers and meal planning, stretching those precious ingredients even further. Mary, who grew up during the Depression, shared a memory of her mother's potato soup. Mum would make a big pot on Monday, and we'd eat it for days. She'd add different things each time to make it seem like a new meal. Sometimes it was just extra pepper. Other times, she'd toss in some wild greens she'd foraged. It never got boring, and it always filled our bellies. Potato soup may have been the main course, but even during the hardest times, people found ways to end their meals on a sweet note. Would you believe that one of the most popular desserts of the Great Depression era was born out of necessity, yet remains a beloved comfort food to this day? Let's uncover the story of a simple treat that brought joy to millions during America's toughest economic period. Creating desserts during the Depression was no easy feat. With sugar and butter often in short supply, families had to get creative to satisfy their sweet cravings. It's hard to imagine now, but back then, even a simple cake was considered a luxury. People had to make do with what they had, turning to affordable ingredients that could still deliver a touch of sweetness to their lives. Despite the harsh realities of the time, folks found ingenious ways to whip up desserts on a budget. They turned to ingredients that were cheap and readily available. One staple that became a game-changer in Depression-era kitchens was rice. It was affordable, filling, and versatile enough to be transformed into something truly special. For many families, desserts provided more than just a sweet ending to a meal. They offered comfort and a brief escape from the daily struggles. Mary, who grew up during those tough times, shared a touching memory with us. Every Sunday, my mom would make rice pudding. The smell of cinnamon filled our tiny apartment, and for a moment, we forgot about all our worries. It was like a warm hug in a bowl. So, which dessert became the unexpected star of Depression-era kitchens? Drumroll, please. It was rice pudding. This humble dish, made from simple ingredients like rice, milk, sugar, and a touch of cinnamon, became a staple in homes across America. It was the perfect solution for using up leftover rice, stretching ingredients, and creating a comforting treat that the whole family could enjoy. Rice pudding's popularity during the Depression wasn't just about its affordability. Its versatility allowed families to get creative, adding whatever they had on hand to make it their own. Some added dried fruits for extra sweetness, while others stirred in a spoonful of jam for a fruity twist. The beauty of rice pudding was that it could be customized to suit individual tastes and available resources. As the years went by, rice pudding evolved but never lost its charm. It remained a beloved comfort food, finding its way onto diner menus and family dinner tables long after the Depression ended. Today, you can find gourmet versions in fancy restaurants, but many still prefer the simple, home-style recipes passed down through generations.